Hi guys, welcome to What is New in Jasmine release. So today on the phone with me, I have James Hunter, who is one of our product consultants, and myself, Caroline Beatson. I am the Chief Product Officer, and we're going to walk you through what is in our Jasmine release. And we are also going to talk about some of the rollout type things and enable you to ask questions at the end. So hopefully this will be informative for you. So as I just said, we'll talk about the overview and what we need to do to actually benefit from the new Bank Direct Connect, and then what else is in Jasmine besides Bank Direct Connect. So just as a reminder for those of you who have already read the release notes and taken a look at our knowledge base, Bank Direct Connect feature has been completely reimagined, for want of a better description. So one of the things that we have enabled Bank Direct Connect to do is to work not only on the Yodlee records, but also with file import. So if you're a customer out there and you're using the file import, you will be able to benefit from everything that I show you today in addition as well, which hasn't always been the case. So hopefully that will be beneficial for you guys. As part of this, we have reconnected with Yodlee's API. So Yodlee's API has gone through a number of different improvements, and we have integrated with the latest improvement. That's given us a couple of different things. One is it's given us the ability to have a little bit richer data that can come into the app, which customers would benefit from, maybe allowing them to do a little bit more automation around some bank rules. And then the other primary benefit is better security. So better security both here in the US, but also it is compliant with some of the latest European security requirements as well. So in terms of automation, we have created some user-defined bank rules. So you're going to be able to create bank rules that make sense for your business. And one of those bank rules might be something like we had in the past, where you had some account name matching from the account record in Salesforce, and you certainly can redo those, but there could also be other defined bank rules that you create, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. We have some global automated match and creation criteria. I'll show you those. And we also have the ability to schedule the downloads of your bank transactions from all of your banks at a determined time. And I'll show you what I mean by that. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we have completely redesigned the UI and the navigation, and we hope you'll like what you see. So let's go ahead and take a look. So just give me 1 minute here and I will get into Salesforce. Alrighty, so hopefully what you guys can see now is what looks like Salesforce, and it is, in fact. I am logged into one of our QA testing orgs, and so I can show you some real data, what it really looks like. So what you'll notice here is this is the Bank Direct Connect tab, which you guys are used to seeing. However, the rest of it looks pretty different. So right over here at the top, I can update all of my transactions right here when I come to it, or as I mentioned earlier, I can simply import my transactions from a file. So if that is you, if that's how you interact with Bank Direct Connect, everything I show from now on also applies to you guys. If you are connected via our partner, then obviously that update all button would be for you. So you'll notice right here, there are 3 subtabs here: bank transactions, bank rules, and bank settings. So let's get the boring stuff out of the way first, and then we'll go back and talk about the rest. So bank settings, a little bit different look and feel, but kind of the same concept. So right up here, you're going to first of all connect to your financial institutions. So you know, here I'm already connected to a particular test site, but if I was to click this new button, you would see that familiar looking Yodlee connection screen where I would be able to choose my bank account and connect it. Here, you're going to map your financial institutions to your bank GL accounts. So first of all, I connect, second of all, I map. And again, here I've got the name of the bank, the account name that I refer to it as, a ledger choice, a GL account choice, and an initial start date. And then this is some information about when the database was last refreshed if you're using Yodlee. So what is this initial start date? That's really just the date that you want all of your transactions to come over from. So in a couple of slides, I will refer back to this initial start date again, but just know that's there. So at the bottom of this screen, you'll notice there is an add settings and a match settings here. And you'll notice that if I want to, I can say I'd like to enable the global automated add or a global automated match based on these criteria here. So if I want to always add my transactions, I can define a default for my cash in and a default for my cash out, as you might imagine, cash disbursement, journal entry. And then at the bottom here, I can choose my defaults around some of my matching settings. Again, like I said, this is the boring stuff. All right, so let's go back to this bank transactions screen here. So as you can see at the top here, in this particular case, I have a financial institution. That's my bank account. I have my GL account. I have some information about the currency and the ledger. And over here, this would be populated if I was connected to a live bank. This is testing data, so it's a testing bank data, so I don't have this available information. The interesting part of this demo happens here on this screen. So you can see here I have 2 sections, an unmatched bank transactions and all my bank transactions. So the difference here is really just in the name, right? So this is all the bank transactions that I have processing, and this is only the unmatched bank transactions. So think about it this way, this is really all the work that I need to do. So when I come to this screen, I come here, I see all the transactions that I've not yet matched. So you'll notice right away, there's a whole bunch of things going on over here. So if we look down here at the details, you can see, I can see in this particular case, there's 2 records found that match some of this data. This tells me I have a required field missing, and this tells me that there's only 1 record found. And in this case, it's pointing me directly to the journal entry. And if I wanted to, I can click and open this journal entry line in another tab and investigate exactly what that is. Let's have a look at this guy here. So right here, I have 2 records found. And when I expand this little arrow here, I can see I have an action to match based on which journal entry I decide I want to click on to match. So if I just say this is the one I want to do and I hit match, then that will match. It'll disappear from this screen. And if I was to come over here, now I can see that in my all bank transactions tab right over here. And I can choose to unmatch if I made a mistake, or I can continue. Before we focus too much on this screen, let's go back here for a minute I want to show you here this required field it's missing. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So when I click down here, it's recognizing that there's a required field missing. So I am shown right here all the fields for this particular bank transaction, and I can directly edit right here. So, you know, this particular instance, it's missing a GL account. So just for fun, we'll put this on the inventory GL account here, and I can then directly add it. Again, it disappears from here and shows over here. So now you can see I have on this screen here two unmatched, two that are already matched. And again, like I said, if I made a mistake, I can simply unmatch them and it will go back to this screen here. You'll notice a couple of other things here. The amount here is shows as negative in red and positive. That's a nice little change that people have been asking for a while. And I can directly link to my source objects. The more important thing that we've added up here is really a choice, an ability to filter, right? I have limited data here, but imagine if I had lots and lots and lots, right? This gives me the ability to filter. So I can filter all of the transactions down here on things like customer and vendor, description, type, status, etc. So it gives me the ability to filter this data down here to find out what I'm really looking for. So once I have worked through all of my unmatched transactions, then this is really done. So that's a really nice way to think about your work. So if you are coming in every day and you have set up your transactions, maybe to come over every night, then you just come in, you work down your unmatched bank transaction screen, and you're done. So let's just show you what I mean by that automation. Okay, so right here, I'm on the accounting settings tab, and we have an automation section to our tab, as you guys know. I can, right here from the select job type, I can pull down my drop-down list. And as I scroll down, you'll see all of the familiar ones, but here's our new one, scheduled bank download. So when I click this, I have a couple of things that I would want to do. I would want to set up a new bank download, which basically allows me to specify the start date and what time, but I also can just download now. So what that does is it will go out to all of my banking institutions that I had mapped up on that settings page and pull the data as of right now. Now it is executed in a routine, so it'll go off and an asynchronous routine, it'll go off and do that, and then so it won't be instantaneous, but it will go get all of your transactions for you. But if I wanted to, you know, let's say I wanted to look at all of my bank transactions every day or every week, then I can simply set up a new scheduled job and set it for my date and time, and I can run that. Alrighty, let's go back to our slides. That was a kind of a quick overview of everything that we've done, and I really wanted you to see this in the actual app itself, just because as you all know, you can't actually see it right now until we are able to roll it all out in full. So let's go back. Let's talk about the timing. So for those of you that are staying up to date with our emails and you know, on all of our communications, you guys already know that Jasmine is in your sandbox. It was pushed back in September, and we have begun a production push cycle for our customers. So some customers already have Jasmine in their live production environment, and we have 3 more pushes, and then we will all be done. So I wanted to talk about the states of our new Bank Direct Connect. So right now, all of our customers, once they have Jasmine, will still be using the old Bank Direct Connect functionality. And that is because this change in our app not only involved code change on our end, but also with our partners Yodlee, we needed to switch the database from the old version to the new version. So that is happening the weekend of 12, 5, and 6, well, 4, 5, and 6. So December 4th, 5th, and 6th, nobody, no matter what version of accounting suite you're using, will have access to the Bank Direct Connect functionality. We are, in that time frame, we will be moving the database from the old database to the new database, and obviously going through lots and lots of testing to make sure that it is up and live on December 7th, which is a Monday. At that time, everyone will have access to the new Bank Direct Connect functionality, so the functionality I just showed you, and only to that. So this is a very black and white switch, and we try very hard not to do this very often, and the Salesforce technology is fantastic around that. It really allows us to do that. In this case, because it's not all in our control, we're also connecting with the Yodlee functionality, we have to make it this way. I hope this is clear to everybody. So let's just talk about a couple of scenarios here. If you are a customer right now who didn't make that leap to Iris with us and you're still on Hibiscus, this will be true for you as well. You will go from Hibiscus to Jasmine and from old Bank Direct Connect to new Bank Direct Connect along with everybody else. So if you are not already on Iris, then you will go from Hibiscus straight to Jasmine, and that will be fine. It will work just as well when we push out Jasmine. Iris comes with it, so that should not be a problem. All right, so all of that being said, you guys are all now excited about all that functionality I showed you and the clean look of our new design and the cool bank rules, and you want to use it, right? Because it's going to make your life easier. So unfortunately, you can't use it until December 7th. However, there are some things that you guys can do between now and then that will really make your life a lot better. So first off, you can make sure all of your bank and credit card transactions are up to date. I would recommend you doing it up until November 30. So you have a clean date, coincides with the end of the month, and you can also maybe take that opportunity to get caught up on your bank recs for those of you who aren't always caught up. So that is an absolutely concrete step you can take between now and then to be ready for this. Another thing that would be very useful for you guys is to capture now in your old Bank Direct Connect, capture all of the banks, the bank GL accounts, and then the mappings that you currently use now, whether that is a screenshot, whether that's put it in Excel, whether that is a sticky note on your desk, doesn't matter, right? Because you are going to have to re-authenticate to your banks with this new Bank Direct Connect launch. So because the database is moving, because this is secure information, because we're using a new API and different security, there is going to need to be re-authentication, which you guys want, and so do we. So you are going to have to go through and establish that connection again between your banks. So, you know, any which way you choose to capture that data is up to you. I would also maybe if you need to remind yourself of the passwords and all of that good stuff because you haven't done that in a while, that's probably a good thing as well. So something else that you could be doing is if you are leveraging the file name match field on our account record, I would highly recommend that you maybe run a report in Salesforce that shows you all of the accounts with those file matches. You could even run a report of all your cash receipts and cash disbursements and see if they have a bank transaction ID on them to see if they came that way, just so that you can identify which of those accounts or which of those transactions are spawned from those rules that you have, because that would be a really good place to start with your Bank Direct Connect rules. So I think as I am talking out loud, I forgot to show you the rules, so we'll go back and look at those in a minute. But these rules what we would recommend is you run these reports, figure out which are your most common accounts that you're always having a match come up for you. We will make a bank rule or you would want to make a bank rule for maybe like the top 5, the most frequent, and then as you start using those bank rules will become obvious to you when they become reoccurring tasks. And then, of course, you can review the new Bank Direct Connect configuration settings, the knowledge base articles, and make any necessary page layout changes if you would like as well. All right, so just as a reminder, to those of you who are not familiar with our knowledge base, everything you need to know is right here in our knowledge base. So if you go to our knowledge base, you look at the general ledger section, and the new Bank Direct Connect is what you want to search for. And under all of these links right here, you will see articles, screenshots, step-by-step, explanations, etc. Again, our release notes are out there, and you can always familiarize yourself by doing the knowledge checks that we have provided as well in our ASU knowledge base. So I would encourage you guys to take the time between now and December 7th to do those things we just talked about, as well as just kind of refresh your mind on what is coming. All right, so before we talk about what else is in Jasmine, I'm going to pause this slide deck for 1 second. We'll go back into Salesforce and just show you bank rules because I'm sorry that I forgot to show you those. All right, so let's do this. Okay, so hopefully you can see Salesforce again. You can see the Bank Direct Connect tab. We talked about this bank transactions tab. We talked about the bank settings tab. This is where the bank rules are. So what is a bank rule? It's really very simple. It is nothing more than, let's open one and look. It's really nothing more than a condition. So if whatever these conditions are, then do something, right? So in this particular case, I have a name for my bank rule, and that's what shows up on my screen. It can be a cash in bank rule or a cash out bank rule. And I can define whether I wanted it to result in a cash receipt or a journal entry. I can give it a priority, and that really is just an order in which those bank rules get executed. I'll show you that in a second. I can also decide, is this bank rule for all of my banking institutions or just a couple of them? And then here is where I set my conditions. So in this case, they're looking for something that contains this text. They want to assign it to this customer and assign this GL account. So with this bank rule in place, what would happen is the transactions would come through, the bank rules would be processed through these transactions, and then on my screen here, I would see, depending on how I had set up my settings, I would see something like a match identified for me, or if I just wanted them to be automatically added, then they would show up here next with the unmatched word next to it so that I can choose to edit if I want to. So you have a lot of choices there. The one thing to note with these bank rules here is that these won't be set up for you because we don't know what your bank rules are. So if you remember me talking about running that report about finding your accounts with the file matching name, and this will help you identify what the first 5 or 10 bank rules that you want to set up are. And you'll notice here I've got cash in rules, I have cash out rules, and then this is where the priority shows up. So this number can be whatever, I think it's 1 to 100 or 1 to 999. So whichever order you put them in numerically is the order in which the bank rules will be executed. All right, so let's go back to the presentation for a moment. All right, so that's enough of Bank Direct Connect. Let's talk a little bit about what's in Jasmine. What else is in Jasmine? So for those of you who did take the leap with to Iris with us, you are familiar with what we did with the cash in application screens, so the cash receipt apply, etc. We have also done that same thing with our cash disbursement apply screen. So this is an image of what that looks like. So you can see here that we've added that same filter functionality in here. We have added this thing called an applied amount here, and this, more importantly, an applied date. So that applied date is what will drive the accounting period for you, and you have filtering as you, so if you're looking for particular things, obviously it's presented in a Lightning UI and it's just a lot more friendly and user-friendly. The same field sets apply, so you can set those up as well. So if you're not already familiar with Iris, we have done the same thing and added some cool functionality to our cash receipt apply side on the cash in, as we have here in Jasmine on cash out. Again, if you need a reminder to on what's in Iris, you certainly can go to the knowledge base. You can look at the release notes, and all the knowledge articles in around our cash receipt apply are all updated for the Iris functionality as well. All right. So what else is in Jasmine? So we have increased the product pot limit on the kitted products. So I know for the customers who wanted that, they'll be excited. It's no longer 5, it's now 249. It is for our weighted average cost customers. We've also done some work on our many of our ERP screens and updated those in the Lightning UI as well. And we've added the contact and employee lookup fields to our recurring payables. So just like in our regular payable, where you can choose to have a payable to a vendor, a contact, or an employee, we have done the same thing for the recurring payables. And then with our recurring journal entries, we have added a new weekly frequency to our recurring journal entries. So just a few of the other things that are in Jasmine. Bank Direct Connect was a large effort and definitely took most of our time, but there there are some other things as well. So with that, I hope that that was informative to you guys. I hope it was helpful to actually see what the Bank Direct Connect functionality might look like. I am positive that James and I have some time for some questions if anybody else had any questions. James, how are we doing with the questions over there?
Definitely rolling in hard and fast. So I'm going to go ahead and
take them away.
make them all go away right now. Some of the questions, a lot of the questions with Bank Direct Connect had to do with the whether or not we'll be able to use this for our UK banks and our EU banks. And this is a requirement in order for us to get certified and that we are meeting the PSD2 requirements. So this was a mandatory step. Once we have this in place and we are able to get our submissions put into the UK, then they will go through the process of certifying it. Once we get certified, then all of those banks that are normally available will be turned back on, and we should be able to use the BDC functionality at that point. Yeah. I do know that there are some banks that are not available in the UK. Our provider Yodlee is working on those banks and making those available. Though there are limitations on the different countries right now that they are expanding out to, just simply because the sheer number they had to do some prioritization. So as far as existing banks, again, if you have a bank that's not been set up yet, and we've requested it to be set up, it's still in the works. Hopefully it's, Yodlee has to finish their development work in order to be able to access that bank. So once that comes online, then it should be available in the new API. All right. Boy, they're coming through hot and fast now. There was a question on BDC and using tokens. For those of you who have tokens, and these are when you log in, every time you log into your bank, you are required to put in a number that changes every time. This will work with you, but because every time you log in, you have to redo your token, it's not going to be able to do it automatically behind the scenes for you like you could if you didn't have a token. That's not to say you can't use it. What you'll do is each time you go into BDC, just like you would today, you would have to refresh your link, in essence, log back in, allow it to ask you what your token number is, put that in there. Once you've connected to your bank, it will automatically trigger Yodlee to go out, gather and aggregate all of the bank transactions from your bank, and then you can use the refresh now and bring those over so that you can use them in the new BDC. But it's a limitation with the token because you have to renew it every single time. So you have that aspect of it. So one of the questions was, what if we already have everything mapped? We don't want to redo all of this. Well, a beautiful thing is that one of the features in the new BDC is you're able to come in and you can say, start at this date. So if you go in and you have everything mapped up through the end of November, you can set your start date to be December 1, and you will only receive the transactions starting at December 1 going forward. So that will keep it so that you don't have to remap anything. Let's say you made a mistake, you grabbed November 30th, and so now you have you can just remove them. There's that remove function that Caroline showed you about. So that really should make things a lot simpler. All right. So let me see. Again, there's questions about some EU banks, specifically in Belgium. Again, it goes back to whether our provider Yodlee has that available or not, and if it is in their roadmap. So if you have a specific bank and you want to know whether that bank is even available, you can simply put in a case, ask whether this specific bank can give it enough information so I can go out and look, and I'll find out whether that bank is available today and that it will become available once we have our PSD2 certification. All right. If it's not available at all, I can send a request into Yodlee and see if it's on the roadmap. All right. Then let me see. The OFX right now, to my knowledge, is going to be the same as it is today. There's no changes in that OFX. I will ask the development team if they're looking at including any additional fields on the OFX upload and see if that's available or if it's something that we can put into our roadmap. All right. And there was a question about testing BDC. Caroline mentioned BDC is going to be a flash cut, and the reason it is because the API, the UIs, and everything are completely incompatible with the old BDC. So until that background, the database and everything behind the scenes are set up, we can't do anything with it. So it'll be a flash cut. We'll turn it on. That's why we're spending the entire weekend, on the computers doing massive amounts of testing to make sure that there are no hiccups or anything. And we will then make it available to you on Monday. And there really is no time to do pre-testing or anything else like that. One of the questions I've received in the past has been, well, how do I test this in Sandbox? Well, BDC is a live function. You're connecting and getting your stuff directly from the bank. So therefore, it's very limited on what can be done in Sandbox. And the companies that Yodlee and the banks have basically said, no, you can't use it in the Sandbox. They have a feature, if you really want to, you can set up fictitious banks and things like that. That information's out on Yodlee. Not easy, but it can be done. So, but again, for our release of the new BDC, Friday you'll leave, it won't be there. Monday we come in, hopefully everything will be nice and ready for you. All right. And
James, just to add to that point, from the development team's perspective, we have gone through a dry run of that transition. We specifically wanted to do that ourselves before we even thought about sort of agreeing to this plan and making this plan. So we internally have gone through a dry run where we have gone from an old BDC, we have cut the cord, so to speak, and then pointed the code back to a new database, and everything went well. We know the procedures, we have them documented, and obviously we'll be there for, as James said, oodles of testing all weekend. And we're feeling pretty good about that transition. But just so you guys have some sense of security, we have tested that internally with our dry run.
Very good, thank you. As you know, the current versions that we're rolling out at the moment are 3.63 for the financial suite and 3.32 for the ERP. If you're wondering whether or not you're on the newest one or not, if you're an early adopter and you have an older version, just put in a case. We'll be happy to send you the links and you can update. All right. Then if we want to pull, I'm just slowly going through. If you're not sure about what you're in, you can simply what version you're on and you would like to know, just go into setup, type in install in the quick link in the quick lookup, and you can see exactly what version of Accounting Seat is installed. All right, it's very, very simple to do. Let me see. There are a number of different banks outside of the EU that Yodlee does work with. And again, it's a matter of if you go in there and you can look it up, and if it's there, great. If you have a specific bank, let's say in Singapore or something, that it's and you're wondering whether it's available or not, then you can send in a case and say, is this bank available to us? Not all banks are 100% compatible with BDC. Some banks have their securities set up so that there's no way to get the transactions unless you log in and download them to an OFX file. All right, so that's the situation. If that is the situation, we'll let you know that. All right. And let me see
so that is,
here.
and James, just to add to that, right? In old BDC, if that was the case, you didn't have access to all of the matching rules and things like that. In new BDC, you can use that same data with all that functionality I showed you. So even if the Yodlee connection is not something you can leverage today, because of some, bank security issue or whatever, you can use the file import to import those transactions in and then process them that way.
All right. Here was a good question that was asked, and everybody noticed how we've used a lot of new technology and a lot of new UI screen and different functions, and all of this is using Lightning apps and different Lightning components. And if the one thing you notice that I'm not talking about is Classic, there's a reason for that. All of this works with Lightning. All right, so that if you're a Classic user, welcome to the world of Lightning.
Bank Direct Connect will be in Lightning.
Yes. So will it work? Again, this is going to work if it works with your bank today, it's going to work with your bank tomorrow. And if your bank is one of these that oftentimes has little issues and problems, well, that's your bank. We do our best, the best that we can, to try to maintain and keep up on all of this, the banks and different things like that, working with our partner Yodlee. So hopefully it will continue to work for any and all banks. Again, the focus is on the information that is passed and shared between us and our provider Yodlee. That's all the new API and how they store their data. So we'll be able to gather a lot more information for you, and the bank information isn't going to change. Let me see. Oh, here's one we did not bring up, Caroline. We probably should have. And that was that the 1099 forms are changing in 2020.
Oh my goodness, James, thank you. Yes.
You want to go and talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So the 1099 forms are changing in 2020. And we have planned for that. And there will be a new 1099 form, a couple of new elections for that form. I think that depending on the boxes, you have different forms to fill out. So that is something that will be coming to an accounting seed instance in the month of December to you guys. I don't have an exact date on that to this minute, but we will have that pushed up to your instance in Jasmine in December.
Great, thank you. Yes, there are a number of other questions, so hopefully I'll be able to get to a few more of these. And one question would be, is the number of bank rules that you are allowed. Currently, our bank rules are set at 100, and that really is a performance issue that we had run into. When you start getting large number of rules, the performance really decreases significantly. And our development teams are working on this diligently to see if there are ways that they can improve the efficiency to improve the number of the bank rolls, which is why when Caroline was talking, look at the big hitters first. If you have something that you hit once a year, that probably is not the the best candidate for creating and using one of your bank rules on. And one of the things that you can do, like she mentioned, is you can go out and just do a count. How many cash receipts do I have by account that have a bank ID on it? And that will tell you how many that you have there, and you can prioritize the number that you have and use that to help identify and prioritize your bank rules. All right, so that's where we are at the moment. Again, hopefully we'll be coming out with future releases saying, yep, we've increased the number of bank rules that you can have. But again, we're not going to put something out there that you're going to click the button and then you can go away, get a cup of coffee, get lunch, come back and finish your reports, and then it'll finally be done. So we're not doing that to you. All right. And is there automated ways to applying cash disbursement, cash receipts? Oh, if you want to automate this, this is your boy here, because what we've done is that the bank rules allow you to assign all the necessary and required fields that are necessary for you to add a bank rule. I mean, to add a cash receipt or add a cash disbursement. So you can actually come in, set all this up, your bank rules are all set up, and it will automatically do all the ads and everything for you. You don't have to manually go in and hit add. You can actually have the system do it for you automatically. So this is a great time saver and a great way to really improve the efficiency of the process. If it's missing a field, it's not going to add it. So you don't have to worry about bad data getting out there. So it's a really neat way that you can, again, add efficiencies in there. And leveraging back to one of the other questions was that, how do we add all these different fields? Well, again, the bank rule is going to let you add the GL variables. You can add projects. You can do different GL accounts on there based on what the combination or the matching is. It gives you literally, I think we counted up there, 13 different fields ultimately that you can put in, and we've got the facility out there that you can go in there and update at least 10 of them at one time.
Yeah.
So you can really do a lot of this assigning that you want to through the bank rules. All right. A real positive thing that before you couldn't do that at all. It all went back to manual world. One nice thing that you can do with the bank rules is, we've talked about detail. Well, you can set up a more global rule and say, hey, you know what? Everything that for this one, I want it all to be this. And you can do like almost like running a default. And you can do the catch-alls and automatically assign different things. So again, looking at what your bank rules are, looking at how you prioritize, give me my real details, these, and then gradually getting more generic, more default oriented at the bottom, gives you the way that you can do that. All right. Looks like Caroline, are you jumping in the bank rules?
Yeah, I have a couple of what if my browser didn't work and I couldn't connect to Salesforce slides in the back of my deck, and I have a bank rule slide. So this just kind of illuminates some of the things that James was saying in terms of these conditions here and then these actions. As you can see, I can add new conditions and add new actions, so I can choose from here whether that's the customer account or the project or project task or GL account variable, etc. I can define those based on these descriptions.
Yeah, and like we mentioned earlier, unlike in the old world, everything that you see here, all the bank rules, all the assigning of the variables, all the assignings of the projects, etc., that's available whether you do the BDC down import from Yodlee or you use the file import process. It brings the files in there and everything is available regardless of how you actually bring in your bank IDs. All right. We got those. One question was, the information. And as you prepare for Jasmine, just as Caroline said before, if you're coming from Hibiscus and you're going and jumping directly into Jasmine, I would definitely recommend look at the Iris release notes, because there's a lot of things that came in with Iris that you should be familiar with. With the BDC and all that information is in the Jasmine release notes. All the BDC, as Caroline mentioned, we have all the new BDC knowledge base articles available out there. You can actually go out there today, see a lot of information. Our tech writers spend a lot of time putting information out there so that it's easy for you to understand what's going on. It's all hyperlinked together, so it's a really good resource to go to, and one I absolutely would recommend that you take the time. And that way, when you send the question in or a case into us, the first thing we do is send you back and say, oh, by the way, this is here in the release notes. So you don't like being embarrassed that way. So anyhow, it's a
James,
great resource.
Yeah, it is. And James, I have that up on the screen. So you'll notice I'm on the Accounting Seed knowledge base site here. Under our admin section, we have our releases. You'll notice the Jasmine release notes are at the top. And if you scroll down, you can see a table of contents. All of this information here is very detailed and links to the appropriate knowledge base articles as well. So I highly recommend you dig into that. And for those of you who didn't take the Iris leap with us earlier in the spring, our Iris release notes are right here as well, set up the same way so that you can link into learning all of the things that you want to learn about Iris.
All right. And one of the questions is the use of formulas and all of that kind of information in our bank, within the bank rules. Right now, I don't believe they are supporting formula usages, but again, that's a great idea and one that we can add into our list to once more have our developers challenged. Like I said again, right now the formulas and formula builder is not supported.
Right.
I did have one question there, and it was inevitable that would come up, and that was a question that on the emails that were sent out on the keys. You saw a lot of you all got emails about a field in the transaction object called a key. This is a very old field. It was deprecated. In fact, if you haven't been on Accounting Seed for a long time, you don't even have to worry about it because it's something like Daisy and before. This field is not used, but it will cause issues in installing Jasmine. So simply go out there, go into setup, go into the object, pull up the transaction, the transaction object, find the field, nuke it, or delete it, whichever one works. But yeah, just get rid of it. It's not going to do anything to your system. All right.
Just to be clear, James, that's the key field on the transaction object. And it's deprecated from our package, which means you can delete it. Normally, you can't delete any of our managed package fields, but because we stopped including it in our package back in Daisy, we're not keeping track of it anymore. So you can delete it from your instance.
One of the things is I've got a list of all the questions. I'll try to go through those and pull together some information like an FAQ, and we'll make that available to y'all so that you can see some of the answers to all of these questions available. All right. All right, Caroline, back to you.
All right. Yeah, thank you, James, for your wealth of knowledge, and everybody, thanks for engaging with us. Great questions. Our support team is, as always, ready to keep asking and answering questions. So please leverage the knowledge base out there that we've shown you, the release notes, and our support team is ready to help you guys with this. So we hope you are excited about what's to come, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone.